In this case, the Missouri Court of Appeals in the case of State of Missouri versus Alvin Barnett reversed the conviction of Alvin Barnett, finding that the state failed to put on sufficient evidence that a reasonable jury could find beyond a reasonable doubt that Alvin Barnett possessed the controlled substances or the paraphernalia that he was charged with possessing. Now let me explain. Alvin Barnett, the defendant, was riding in the front passenger seat of a car being driven by his girlfriend. In the back seat behind Alvin was Alvin's sister. Now, a very conscientious police officer noticed that this car did not have a rear license plate lamp. At least that's what he said was his reason for stopping this car. And he said when he stopped the car that the occupants, including Mr. Barnett, who was the ultimate defendant in this case, seemed unduly nervous, and that Mr. Barnett kept looking back at his sister while the officer was interrogating her. And the officer then decided that they were just too nervous under the circumstances, that they were more nervous than they should have been, and he had them all get out of the car. And he searched the car. Now, he claims that the driver gave consent to search the car, and that's frequently a claim when there's no other reason to allow him to search the car, that the driver gave consent. And when he searched the car, he says he found behind the rear center console, behind the center console in the rear, on the rear floorboard, under a washcloth, he found some controlled substances and some paraphernalia, a scale, and what's called a measuring spoon. Now, most spoons I know can measure things, so I'm not sure exactly why he called this a measuring spoon. And further, in the purse of the sister who was sitting in the back seat, he found what he said, based on his experience, were drug ledgers. And in this drug ledger, the defendant's name appeared. And so the state decided must be defendant's controlled substances, or at least he helped the sister, conspired with her, became a co-conspirator, a joint actor with her in possessing the drugs and the paraphernalia. Now, there were other errors made by the trial judge in this case, as far as letting in certain evidence, letting people testify about their experience. This was a drug ledger, and that the names in there all either owed the sister money for drugs or she had sold drugs to these people. It went to trial, and over the defendant's lawyer's objection, a lot of this evidence came in, and at the end, the jury found him guilty, and the judge sentenced him to 10 years in the penitentiary, and he appealed. And the Court of Appeals said, look, there's just not enough evidence. There was no evidence at all in any way connecting the defendant to the drugs or the paraphernalia, to the scale or the washcloth. They found some plastic bags in there too. And so the Court of Appeals, making the right decision, and believe me, it's tough to get a reversal in the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals said, no, we're not going to allow this to stand. The judge never should have let this go to the jury. He should have taken it away from the jury and entered what's called a judgment of acquittal at the end of the case. So the lesson to be learned here, of course, is, first of all, don't have any controlled substances in your car. That would make sense. Second, if the police officers want to get in your car and search, they're going to get in your car and search, and they're going to come up with a reason if they want to stop you. I'm pretty sure that the police officer thought this car was suspicious because it had these 3 people in it. I don't know about that, but a rear license plate lamp, I mean, come on. I see cars driving around all the time with no license plates, and the police aren't stopping them, so that sounds a little fishy to me. But anyway, case of State of Missouri versus Alvin Barnett, and Mr. Barnett was acquitted and found not guilty. I'm Wayne Schoenberg. Thanks for watching.